Look ahead is a dying skill, and here's why. So I had a good conversation with my friend Jacob Levi, and we talked about the idea that look ahead is just not that important, because if you look at the highest level of Chinese cubers solving, they're always planning out everything in their solves, right? They're able to see like first 2 pairs, first 3 pairs, even full F2L sometimes like Xuanyi and Yiheng, and then they're the fastest cubers in the world. Because they're able to plan out so far into the future, they're able to turn so fast. So that's basically the main thing that I'm going to be talking about in this video, is the concept that me and my buddy Jacob discovered and talked about. And the reason why I'm making this video, I'm just like recording it just on a whim, is because of this podcast that Brandon True did with Maddie, where at about like 40 minutes, I'll play the clip on screen.
But I feel like the most important thing for you to develop are 2 things: TPS and inspection depth, okay? Because I've been finding, for me personally, that training look ahead is more and more pointless. Because in some solves, I don't even have to look ahead, because you just see all of F2L and inspection.
That's crazy. You're right? The guy who has TPS. You are the TPS guy.
Sometimes, like, I'm like, why did I even train look ahead as a little kid? Because I'm not even using look ahead, because I just do F2L from inspection. So I think the way you should train look ahead is definitely like last slot, last layer. That's the only thing that's like look ahead base. Because even Xuanyi has to look ahead from the ZVLS to the ZV, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where you can cut a lot of time out. In 2030, that will be the important look ahead part of the solve.
He talked about this exact same thing, about why did I even practice look ahead as a kid? Because I don't even use it anymore, because sometimes I can see 3 pairs to full F2L and then I'm just turning, right? And the only look ahead is last lot to last layer. And he mentioned, he was like, if he could go back, I don't know if he mentioned this, but he said something along the lines of like, the only look ahead practice you need to do is from last lot to last layer. So that's like something that me and Jacob actually talked about many weeks ago. And I just thought it was so cool that me and Jacob aligned with someone at the highest level on something. And the reason why we came up with these ideas was because we were analyzing like Chinese cuber solves, because there's a huge gap between what the Chinese cubers do and what the NA cubers do. I would say the Chinese cubers are very calculated with their solutions and their turning and everything to do, where NA does it totally based off of feel, right? They're not really doing stuff because it's like, how would I say it? It's like, they don't do things because it's like scientifically correct or because it's proven in a study. They do it based off of vibes, right? They don't like count their X cross move counts, right? They don't try and be efficient. They're like, oh, this looks like a good X cross I can do, where then it ends up being like a 13, 14 move X cross, which is really bad. But Chinese cubers will go in and be like, hey, I'm only doing under 10 move X crosses. And because of that, I can now do my cross plus 1 in sub 1 every time, right? So they're very like technical when it comes to their practice. And we've come up with the idea that look ahead is like a skill that's totally based off of vibes, right? You only look ahead, like you choose what to do next totally based off of vibes, where when you predict it, you know what you're doing, right? Because like, honestly, at the end of the day, when you're looking ahead, you only have like 85 to 90% like idea of what you're doing, right? Because like you could totally do the pair wrong. When you predict it, you're basically, you know for sure that pair's right there and you're going to do it, right? I don't really know if that makes sense, but comment down below to tell me if that made sense or not. But yeah, it's that look ahead is just not that important. And so many people are wasting their time trying to figure out look ahead and trying to do that, when what they should be doing is focusing on inspection. So many people I've heard is they don't like focus on inspection until they're like already sub 10. For me, I learned inspection when I was averaging like 11 to 10 because I couldn't get any faster until I learned it. And then I heard something like Dominic Radici. He had another podcast with Brandon True. He talked about how he didn't even learn to predict first pair until he was averaging like 8, which is just mind-blowing to me, right? But the craziest thing is, even for me, when I learned how to predict first pair when I was averaging like 11 to 10, I still haven't even gotten confident with planning second pair, right? I can plan second pair between like 50% and 90% of the time, depending on the day, right? I just need to do better practice. But like at this point, when I'm averaging like low 6, I should for sure be able to plan 2 pairs every time. But that's because of my practice. I've been super lazy with my practice and I didn't realize inspection was the most important thing. I thought other things were more important, like look ahead or my last layer. But that's just really not that important. So one thing I want to talk about is I was averaging high 6 for the longest time. Like at Worlds, I was averaging high 6. Before then, I was averaging high 6. And I just could not improve. And I thought it was something to do with my last layer method, like CFOP or ZB, which is so dumb because that's not the most important part of your solves, right? Your most important part is your starts and how you can do your F2L. Cross to F2L transition, that whole step is the most important part of your solves. And I was focusing so much on my last slot to last layer, so that's why I was contemplating going from CFOP to ZB. And I was contemplating that for like a full year, that's like a full year of wasted. I eventually switched to ZB and I'm way faster with ZB than CFOP now. But after I switched to ZB, I got back to inspection practice. And then in like 1 to 2 months, I went from high 6 finally down to low 6. Like I cut half a second off of my times. And that was just inspection practice. It just shows that inspection is the most important part of your solves. And because of me focusing on inspection, I was able to turn way faster on my solves. I was looking at my TPS. I mean, obviously, since I was solving faster, my TPS was higher. But watching back videos, I'd watch videos from when I would predict 1 pair and when I would predict 2 pairs. And I was turning like a full turn per second faster. Like if I predicted 1 pair, it would be like 8 TPS. And if I was predicting 2 pairs, it would be 9 TPS. Like huge difference, right? So predicting 2 pairs directly goes into how fast you can turn. And Maddie said that in 2030, the main thing that will set apart like slower cubers from faster cubers or from like China to NA is that China's going to have way better turning than NA will. And that comes down to prediction, right? Because if you cannot inspect well, you can't have fast turning. So whenever I inspect 2 pairs, I'll have really insane turning. And if I can inspect 3 pairs, I almost always have 10 TPS because I'm just so confident in knowing what I'm doing and I don't have to rely on look ahead. And look ahead is some people have really good look ahead, like Max Park, right? But most people are not going to get to that level with look ahead. And like your look ahead can falter at any point, where if you inspect and get really good at inspecting, because you can train inspection really well, then you're going to like be able to do that and be very confident in your inspection, right? And there's not really a good way to like say like, oh, I'm good at look ahead, right? Or to train it, because you can do slow solves and count the amount of pauses you do, right? But you just like can't, there's not a measurable way. There's not like a study you can conduct, right? But inspection there is, right? So what I'll do is like on CS Timer is I'll count how many times I can play in 2 pairs and then I'll do an average. Right now in my CS Timer session, let me look at it right now. My average is 85%, right? 85% of the time I'm able to play in 2 pairs in inspection, which I would say that's pretty good. And I need to get that number up to 95% of the time if I'm going to be confident in like, WCA competitions. But for look ahead, you can't just be like, oh, this percentage of the time I have good look ahead and this percentage of the time I have bad look ahead. It's so non-measurable. And that's why it's just completely based off of vibes, right? And that's why inspection is just so much more important than look ahead. And if you look at Chinese cubers, they're obviously the fastest in the world. And you got Yiheng, Xuanyi, Yufangdu, Bofan. Bofan's had a little bit of trouble performing in comp recently. I don't know if I'm forgetting anyone else. Yeah, they're also good because their inspection is insane. And it's not because of their method, right? Some of them use CFOP, some of them use ZB, some of them use like half and half, like Yufangdu or Bofan. They use half CFOP, half ZB. But they're just so good because their inspection is insane. And that's what they're taught to do. They're taught to have insane inspection. And no one else, I mean, we got some top cubers from NA who are pretty good at it. Timon's inspection is pretty good. Maddie's inspection is pretty good. And we got some other people, but no one's on their level, right? And no one trains it as hardcore as them. And it shows. They're literally the best in the world, right? And like, that's the difference. People are always like, what makes them so good? Yeah, there's a couple main things, but that's the main thing. And since they're able to inspect far into the future, they're able to turn fast. And like, no wonder they have the fastest turners in the world. I'll give this example. Xuanyi, if you look at solve videos from him like 1 to 2 years ago, his turning wasn't insane. It was pretty average. It might have actually been slightly below average. Like his 432 average that he got like a year ago, he had like 9. His average TPS was 9.8, which is good, but that's not Yiheng level whatsoever, right? And that's when he was playing like 2 to 3 pairs in inspection. Now he's playing like only sometimes 3 pairs, but most of the time all the way until ZBLS. He's playing like F2L into ZBLS. So it just like, and his turning's insane now. You saw the Monkey League match between Timon on Schwanyi, his turning was wild. Philip used this analogy. He was like a NASCAR driver. He was turning that fast in his starts. And that's because he was so confident in his solutions and he's planning out so far. And he's trained it to be so confident that he's just insane now. Yiheng has always really had solid turning, and then he's added planning onto it. But I'm a firm believer that you should learn how to plan good first. And if you can learn how to plan good, then your turn speed will just follow with that. Because if you plan far into the future, your hands are naturally just going to turn fast, right? You don't really have to force yourself. Yes, you can force yourself, but it's going to help a lot. And you don't have to be reliant on look ahead in that, in that fashion. So what else do I have? And then one thing that I mentioned earlier that Maddie mentioned as well is the only look ahead that still matters is last lot to last layer. For me, it's ZBLS to ZBLO. So I've been doing a lot of last lot to last layer training. I actually haven't been doing any solves recently, like in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Every day, I'll just do a couple hours of literally just ZBLS to ZBLO transition. And what that has helped me do is make my recognition for ZBLS and ZBLO super good and super fast. But what it also has done is it's developed my look ahead for it, right? Because ZBLL is such a huge alg set. And if you're able to learn how to look ahead to it, then your recognition is going to be insane. And that's what Schwanyi's done. If you look at his recognition, he's like 0.3 recognition on ZBLO. 0.3, that's insane. Sometimes 0.2. And there was a solve during Monkey League where he had pretty bad lockups, and that means he was turning slower. And he literally did not pause for doing ZBLO. It was insane. He just looked ahead perfectly into it. So look ahead is a good skill only for last lot to last layer. And it's even more important if you use CFOP, right? To look ahead from last lot to OLO is actually really, really easy. Like the other day, I was just playing around with it for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I could guess my OLO or have no pauses into OLO, like probably 75% of the time. And I was just doing this for fun. And I'm a ZB solver, and I haven't done like CFOP for like 6 months. So it just shows how important look ahead is for last lot to last layer. And now it sounds like I'm glazing look ahead, even though I was just trashing on it. But it's just really true how important it is. And that's why what I've been doing. So we're going to now talk about my personal improvement and what I've been doing. Sorry for no road to sub 6 videos recently. I don't even have an excuse. I'm sorry, guys. I've been doing you guys dirty. But what I've been doing is I've been doing 3 types of practice, right? So 2 different types, and I've been basically splitting it up into 2 different categories, right? One of them's inspection, and one of them is last lot to last layer. So for my inspection, I have 2 different drills. I have optimal X-cross practice and inspection depth practice. So for optimal X-cross is I've been always trying to do an X-cross in 10 moves or less. I looked at Chinese Cuber solves, and they're always doing that. And that's what they used to do to train, right? They're super, super efficient. And then I started tracking mine, and I was doing like cross plus 1 in like 13 moves, sometimes 15 if I couldn't find anything good, which is unacceptable. I can't expect to be fast if I'm doing that. So I've been drilling that. And now I was looking at my session, I was doing sub 10 move cross plus 1s 90 to 95% of the time, which is a huge improvement. That's so good, which means if I have 10 TPS, I can do my cross plus 1 sub 1, which is what Chinese Cubers do theirs in, right? So that's like really, really good. And then what I also do is you do inspection depth, right? Because now that you can do a lower move count cross plus 1, now you can see further into the cube because you're doing less moves on your cube. And since I've been doing that drill, I can now see further in. Like I was just doing some solves. I was doing cross plus 2 training where I was trying to see if I can do cross plus 2 every solve. I mentioned earlier I was 85%, but on my 10th attempt, I saw full F2L in 10 seconds. Just straight up. I saw a triple X cross at 5 seconds. And then my last pair, I took a couple extra seconds. And I've never been able to do it that good. And then the next solve, I did 3 pairs in 10 seconds as well. And it's just these 2 combinations will help your inspection huge. And I haven't started doing normal solves again because I'm not comfortable doing inspection. And if I do normal solves again, I'm going to go back to predicting 1 pair and just doing dumb stuff. So I'm going huge on inspection. Then from there, I've been doing last lot to last layer transition. As I mentioned earlier, I've been doing hours of that a day. And I've been doing 2-sided ZBLO recognition. So for the L cases, I recognize it from this angle with these 2 corners facing towards you. But now I've been doing it from the back, right? And I'm almost 100% on that. I'm also almost 100% on the T cases and the U cases. Now I'm moving on to the pi cases, right? And I'm like, I actually have my stats. Let me pull those up. Last slot to last layer. I am 91% of two-sided PLL recognition. ZBLO. Sorry, let me say that one more time. I am 91% of two-sided ZBLO recognition. Like after I do ZBLS, 91% of the time I can do ZBLO from just looking at the side that I'm already facing, right? And that's huge. That's saving me at least 0.5 per solve. You guys might not think that's huge, or it's not saving me that much time, but think about it this way. When you get done with ZBLS, the first step is to recognize what subset you have. So you can either have like a Soon case, or you can have an L or a pi. If you don't know two-sided ZBLO recognition, you have to do a quick AUF, which means you have to double recognize. Double recognition is the biggest time loss that you can have in a ZBLL solve. And what I started noticing as I was filming some of my solves, every solve that I would do two-sided on versus I would have to pre-AUF do double recognition, I was way faster when I wouldn't have to do pre-AUF or double recognize, right? So those two things in relation, just practicing those 3 practice drills, I am sure I'm going to be sub 6. And I've done a couple solves, and if I'm able to do plain 2 pairs with a quality X cross and then good two-sided ZBLO recognition, sub 6 every time. And it's just crazy. I didn't realize how important all these things were. So that's why moving forward, that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, thank you guys for listening to this rant. And my camera died right before I could finish the outro, so I'm just going to finish it here. I just wanted to thank you guys for watching this rant. I wanted to shout out CubingGG. I do coaching on there. If you're looking for good structured practice and want to improve, as you guys can tell, I have a lot of opinions on a lot of different things, so I can help you become the fastest that you can on there. So just go check that out. And also shout out to the Caden Cube, right? Best cube on thecubicle.com. And oh yeah, use discount code Caden if you're there. And last thing, I referenced Brandon True multiple times in this video. And as you guys know, if you watch him, I'm coaching him to become one of the fastest cubers in NA, multi-year process, and it's going to be really cool. So if you guys like to watch improvement videos, go check him out. Link will be in the description. And yeah, subscribe to me and subscribe to him. Yeah, just wanted to tell you guys that I love y'all and peace out.